Stories change us, inspire us, encourage us, and keep us going. Green Chair Conversations is the place where story and change meet through authentic conversation as we learn and grow from a diversity of voices. Welcome to Green Chair Conversations. Hey everyone, today I am on location with Chris and Emily Taylor, owners of Mempops, a local ice pops company here in Memphis, Tennessee. Today we are going to talk about the story of Mempops and get really pragmatic on how we can know our why and manage our limits. I'm really excited about this conversation today. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
you.
us. I know, we're here on location. This is your crosstown location.
That's correct.
Yes.
It's my personal favorite. Don't tell the other location, I'm sorry. We're biased because we live right down the street. But I would love to hear the story of Mempops. I mean, this is a really, I feel like everywhere I go in Memphis, there is a truck somewhere. So you guys are kind of taking over the city.
That was our hope and plan.
Yeah, tell me how to get started.
We, a backstory, I've worked in
Yeah.
restaurants and worked in kitchens, managed restaurants, and I wanted to open a restaurant. And Emily did not want me to open a restaurant. Because I was like, I gotta do something. I can't just keep working for people. And we were in Birmingham visiting my dad and went into a Steel City Pops. And I don't know, I started looking at their website. I was like, man, they got 4 locations in Birmingham. Like, what? What is this? And then we started looking into it. And then on the drive back to Memphis, we were kind of like, we're going to do this in Memphis. And
That's
really,
really cool.
that's kind of how it happened. We're just and then I was like, I'm just going to do this. If they did it in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they do theirs. I don't know how they make their pops or how they run their business. I just like kind of the general idea of it. And we just kind of figured it out on our own eventually.
Yeah, just kind of started looking into equipment and, you know, looking into ideas of what would match and go. And
That's
then,
really neat.
Yeah.
So inspiration kind of came from this place, but then you guys kind of just took it on.
Right.
Yes.
One thing that we knew we wanted to do was to be local and use all natural ingredients with no artificial flavors or colors, kind of get on that local, all natural, high that everyone is on. So and kind of build off of that.
Yeah. That's really neat.
Yeah.
And so some of it comes the creativity behind your, I'm sitting here looking at a board right now that has all of your flavors on it. And I mean, but some of the creativity behind, you have watermelon and basil, which is actually my favorite. But I love that because you guys have been so creative with your flavors, and I love that.
Well, it's happened sort of over time. I remember looking at some pictures, when we first opened the Mempops at Ridgeway, our first store, I had 10 flavors. I think at that point I probably had 15, maybe 20 recipes. Now I have over 100. And
oh, wow.
We've kind of, along the way, learned, we had to figure out how to make popsicle, or sorry, not popsicle. No,
ice pops.
Ice pops, or how to make Mempops. We had to figure out how to do it.
Yes.
And so we, finally got sort of a system down, and we came up with these different bases that we can sort of interchange with different flavors. And so now, if you asked me to make a flavor, I could figure out how to do it really quickly.
Okay.
But that took years to figure out. It wasn't overnight. A lot of these things just kind of trial and error. If we do, okay, now this works. I made plenty of terrible popsicles and throw them away.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it just takes a while to sort of get to where we are. And now we've figured out what we're doing, and it's a lot easier on the production side of things.
Yeah. And so you guys actually, the ice pops and popsicle thing. So you told me a little bit about Popsicle's a brand. I never knew this until now.
Yep.
It's ice pops is how you it's language.
But it's everyone just it's kind of
like the way you call it,
Xerox.
Right.
Yeah.
Kleenex and tissue. Right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But we're trying to, at least in Memphis, change it to where we don't say popsicles, we just say Mempops.
That is one of the first things.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that Chris says whenever we started doing it. He was like, I don't want people in Memphis to say I want a popsicle or an ice pop. I want people to say I want a Mempop.
That's cool.
But I just said popsicle.
It's hard to get it.
It's hard.
Right.
I haven't even fully evolved yet.
Okay, so even backing it up, I think I'm really inspired by this fact that you already had a dream to open a restaurant. You knew that's probably not super practical with your family. Or Emily. Right?
I thought I could make it work, but Emily is smarter than me, and she knows how when I get really involved. I would have like had a bed at the restaurant eventually.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So-
And we started, just making popsicles or ice pops, Mempops.
Yes.
And
Mempops.
like in the evenings, like he'd come home from work. He was working at Central Barbecue.
Oh, yes.
I'd come
Yes.
home from work. We'd put the kids to bed. We'd make popsicles, right? And we could make Mempops. We could make.
It's hard.
And we could make how many a night in a 24-hour period?
80.
We could make 48 popsicles.
Oh no, 160 because I had 4 molds that did 40 a piece.
Okay.
And then sometimes I would do it where like if I worked the night shift,
Okay.
I would come home like at 11 and be going till 2
Okay.
in the morning, and then the next day at some point when we were home at the same time, I was like, all right, we gotta unmold them and make the next batch, and we,
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and I wasn't only going out, like I was working there, 6 days a week. So
Okay.
I was going out like on Sunday
Yeah.
to sell, and then
In the
You-
truck. I love the truck story.
well, no,
Right.
we
we
had,
started with a cart,
I had some
but yeah.
carts I found, and I was going out, and then we got this truck that didn't really work. I had it towed over to Memphis Made, and I had that like my weekend spot. Anyway,
Yeah.
But I remember one day I was having a terrible day at work. I called Emily. I was like, I can't say exactly what I said, but like basically expressed my frustration. And I was like, I'm quitting. And she's like, you're doing what? Yeah, I'm quitting. And she's like, we're gonna start at Mempops. Like, why am I just gonna quit? I was
And
like,
so- and you did it.
I feel like I'm done. Like I can't
Yeah.
do it anymore.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
kind of scary, but
Yeah.
one thing, Chris has always been willing to take risks, but they're very calculated ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was scary, yes, but I also trusted him and what we were doing with this. And so, yeah.
And I imagine that's kind of when it really started taking off because, you're really invested at this point. I was actually reading something the other day talking about with starting new businesses or kind of going forward with something that's like a risk. A lot of people tend to do the half in, half out thing, but once you kind of dive in, that's when it really can go.
Yeah.
Because you're really invested. It has to work.
And you have your
essentially.
time and, the drive to make it work. And, and let's face it, be financially successful, right?
Yeah,
you have to have it,
Yeah.
be able to support you and your
Yeah.
family too.
Yeah, I love the. So where'd you get I remember because full disclosure, we're neighbors, so it's kind of fun watching this. I remember when you guys got the truck, and I remember seeing this truck sitting in front of your house. I was like, "What on earth is this truck?" It disappears for a little bit, it comes back, and it looks amazing.
Right,
it has
it's all
Mempops on
popped
it.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
No, so my friend Stanley, who I think they get a hope too.
Yes.
Stanley and Amanda.
Yes.
So Stanley sends me a link on Craigslist. He's like, hey man, this is a cool truck. Like that'd be cool for your business that you're starting. And I was like, you're right. And so I called the guy and I went over there and looked at it. And then of course, we're gonna drive it back to Memphis. Like it's like kind of like a little death trap.
Yeah.
And it's like an 83 mail truck. And so I went over there and then I called a friend that was in the used car business and he had like somebody come and transport it to Memphis.
Yeah.
And then we eventually got another one too. We have 2 of them now.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about lessons. Obviously, you make it sound really easy, right? Like just jumping, quitting your job and jumping into a brand new business and launching something. But I can tell you guys really love it and you're really passionate about it. And I loved even seeing you through this past pandemic get really creative. I remember you had like things on Sunday with our neighborhood and you had like socially distant chalk things. You guys are just really intentional. But I would love lessons that you guys have learned along the way through this journey.
Like kind of knowing what our limits are.
Yeah, I like that.
And at first, just trying to do everything ourselves and Chris spending all this time, but, kind of being, like you said, more intentional about how we spend our time and where we spend our time. For a little while we had talked about, possibly franchising
Yes, I was gonna
and
ask
going
about
out
this.
to, with our mobile events, like doing more regional things and like kind of learning that maybe we just, hone in on what we have going on here and really perfect that instead of stretching ourselves so thin and, looking at quality versus quantity and kind of knowing, hey, we're okay to be here and to do this and make this even better than trying to stretch ourselves really thin. So I think that's something that we've kind of learned certainly over the years, but I would say really especially within the past 18 months, kind of knowing what what we're good at and knowing what our limits are, and having other folks come in and help us whenever we need help too.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I know when, like, because it kind of happened fast. Like, we Ridgeway store, and then I think we opened the Crossland store like the next year, and then we opened a store in Collierville, which we've actually just closed, and I'm not sad about it. Sorry, Collierville, but it just wasn't working, and someone assumed our lease, so it worked out perfectly for us. I was like, I want to, open one in Oxford and do all this stuff, and now someone's like, you should open with someone like somewhere. I was like, no, like we have 2 stores, and we are good with 2 stores. Like, I don't need any more. Like 2 stores and our mobile thing.
Yes.
And we're fine. I'm not trying to take over the ice pop world or whatever. Like I think I thought that originally, but then it's like, I don't know, just like have a weekend off every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not trying to like make more. I'm trying to make more free time, but like I'm not like, oh, we got to do this. And I think some people get like short-sighted and like just see like the dollar, like I can do this and make more money, and it's all like short-term return. You don't think about like the long-term return. It's like, you can do all this stuff, and then you'll work 100 hours a week the rest of your life. Like, you gotta do it for a while, but now we're trying to have our return be free time for,
your family.
Yes.
Be with our family.
And have time with your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's like super important. I imagine that's a hard, I guess I'm just speculating, but I imagine that's a hard place to say, okay, at some point there's a line, right? At some point you're like, you know what? This is really attractive. This is really great to expand. I'm assuming maybe the Collierville store even taught you guys some of that. This is really great, but here's what's really important, and kind of having to get down to the nitty gritty of this is what matters, and this is kind of really what we want to do.
Right. Well, and kind of knowing why we kind of started all this in the first place, so that he could be creative and own his own business, but then also to spend time with family too, and certainly. It's busy and it takes a lot of time, but kind of seeing, hey, we gotta, and now I think we can kind of look back and say, okay, now we've kind of started to hone in on, let's work on spending more time with family and getting this machine of a business rolling to where it can kind of do stuff on its own, and hiring the right people and investing in its employees and staff, to where it can he can step back some.
So I loved, you kind of touched on this, Emily, is a little bit about knowing your why, like why we want to do this, what's important, what matters. You have a really interesting story about, you met with this PR firm that really kind of energized you guys, really refocused you. I'd love for you to tell that.
Yeah, we, again, like kind of starting to know our limits, like when we were first starting, we wanted to be able to do it all ourselves, build websites, do social media, advertising, word of mouth, whatever. We were like, well, we can do this. Well, we can't do it all. And so, because I'm a speech therapist by training, and, he's a chef and a business owner, and our business partner is the same, but we're not great at everything. And so kind of, we looked into meeting with a PR firm and had a meeting with them, and they started talking to us and just kind of got us going as to why we started the business and what the business is like. And we were all just sitting there talking, and for one thing, it was the first time that the 3 of us, Chris, I, and then our business partner, JC Youngblood, had all kind of sat down together for a while and started talking. And we started talking about some of the things that we were doing and some of the things that we've done. And, it's stuff that I'd kind of forgotten about or maybe kind of lost focus. And when we left, I told both of them, I was like, that really energized me. Like, it was great to hear about the things that we've done and the ideas that we had, and maybe talk about some of the ideas that we had that didn't work. But it really kind of refocused and re-energized us. And I think you feel the same way. And it was kind of neat to be able to talk to someone other than ourselves about what we were doing and why we were doing it. So it really re-energized me, and I think Chris too, and kind of got some ideas and kind of took some weight off of us, like, hey, we can hire people who know what they're doing in these areas to help us with that, and we don't have to be able to do it all ourselves, right? And so that felt good too, to kind of I mean, I think I realized that, but to be able to say it out loud too kind of felt good. You know?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And so getting like super pragmatic, like I like to be very practical with some of this is, so what are some things that you would encourage someone? So say someone is either they want to start a business, they own a business, or they're just kind of in a season of life where they're like, what am I doing? Like what advice would you give them about kind of knowing your why and managing your limits?
I mean, you have to like be passionate about it. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like I'm not like I don't think I'm some like great business person. Like when I started Mempops, I didn't do a pro forma. I kind of had a general idea on cost of things. I kind of just knew that I could make it work. And that's not how everybody operates. And now I've learned stuff. But I mean, you gotta like want to do like. You gotta want to do it because you want to do it. If you sit there and say, I want to start this business because I can make X amount of money, and this is my opinion, if your whole goal is I want to make money, and you go into it because you don't care about what you're doing, but the whole goal is just to make money, like I don't think you'll be successful. You have to find something you really want to do, and then figure out how you can do it, and then you do a really good job and work hard, then the rewards will come in. But I think you have to think about what you want to do, and then think about why people would want to buy it or buy your services or whatever you're doing. I think that's important.
And I think an important piece too from hearing y'all's story is, like what I'm hearing you say is a lot of your whys were, you love the creativity and the cooking behind it, but then also the why behind Memphis. It had very intentional about Memphis, intentional about natural. Right. But then also a part of your why was to do something so that you could have limits, so that you could be with your family, so that you could build something by yourselves. And I think that's an important piece too. Like it's easy to talk just business, right? But I think that there's another layer too, is like we want to do this because this is the life we want. And so that's part of your why as well. And I think that's an important piece too. Because I feel like we can put on guilt on that. Like I want to build a business so that I can have this life, but that's okay as well.
Yeah, and then I also want to build this. I don't have a boss tell me what to do. Like that's a big thing too. It's like I'll just let me do it my way. You want to do it, yeah. Like I know what I'm doing. Like y'all just leave me alone, and then eventually I just went on to kind of prove that I could do it.
Yeah. Okay. So any final thoughts? If you want to, what would you leave somebody with today listening? A main thought, a main lesson, kind of from this conversation. And I want one from each of you. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna force you. I'm gonna force you to have.
I guess the main thing is just to do something in your life that you're proud of, and that you, again, kind of touching on what Chris feel passionate about. I mean, whenever we kind of started all this, we did want to have his own business, but we also wanted it to be something that was Memphis and that made Memphis proud. And we feel a real big buy-in with this community, and I hope that they feel the same about us. And so I feel like just doing something that you and your community can be proud of.
That's good.
We kind of stole what I was going to say. No, I mean, I think, God, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. Like when I have people that work for me or I go places, like always just like, like you got to give it your best effort. I think with whatever you're doing, whether it's work or being, a mom or a dad or whatever, soccer coach, like whether you're getting paid or not, like always like, hey, like I always want to give it my best effort. And that's kind of, I don't know, just sort of like how I try to live my life. And hopefully it shows here too, but I think that like whatever you're doing, whether you're starting a business or what, always just, if you give it your best effort, usually things will work out for you.
That's good. That's good. Thank you guys for having us here and setting up shop in your shop.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you guys. I so appreciate this.
Yes, thank you.
And that is a wrap for our Green Chair conversation with Chris and Emily Taylor. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Please take a moment to like today's video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, even our Green Chair Conversations podcast as well, and our brand new Green Chair Instagram account. That way you can see the release of new episodes, you can see behind the scenes what's happening and what's going on. We are so thankful you're here with us, love you guys, and are crazy excited about next week. See you soon.